All righty. I got a little history, a little wrestling history, a little palate cleanser.
Sock it to me.
And or as Richard Nixon would say, sock it to me.
Why was he confused by that?
I don't. It was a question. He added the question mark at the end of the thing, and it just, instead of the exclamation point. St. Louis, great city. We've talked about it recently. I have some more, just a few more notes, and something I wanted to bring up to you that I have never thought of before, and nobody else has brought it up, and it seems interesting. But anyway, in 1954, just so you know, the National Wrestling Alliance elected Sam Muchnick as president and Frank Tunney of Toronto as the first vice president. We've gone over that. There was a first vice president and a second vice president served, you know. The championship committee in 1954. These were the people that decided the champion. In 1954, Al Haft, Orville Brown, Jim Crockett Sr., Frank Tunney, and Sam Mineker.
Wow,
on the
that's
championship committee. He was the El Paso promoter at that time. And then he had a stellar booking and announcing career for the next 20 years for Stu Hart and Dick the Bruiser, among others, and then ended up in the 80s, was back in El Paso, and I met him when he stopped by a show that World Class did at the Army base there, or the service base. I think it was an Army base.
He was also a brilliant plane thief.
Yes, he brought him back eventually. When he had to fly back into the territory, he generally flew back in a plane that he had left in that belonged to somebody else. Anyway, real quickly, some business statistics. The Lou Thesz and Leo Nomalini series of matches in San Francisco. They met 3 times in San Francisco in 1953 through 56, right? Those 3 matches drew 36,740 fans, paying $119,455, which in today's money translates to over $1 million for three shows.
I'm trying to find them right here, and I can't. I actually have all the programs for those shows, and I want to say hello to Frank the Collector, who's out there.
Hello, Frank. This was something that I brought something to my attention. There was a blurb in one of the St. Louis programs that said, "Congratulations to Lou Thesz and his wife Freda." And Freda was Lou's second wife, I believe, and he was married to her before Charlie, his last wife, he was married to when he passed away. But they announced, congratulations, their son Jeffrey was born. So I said, wait a minute, I don't ever remember Lou Thesz talking about or his son appearing or seeing a picture of his son. And then I went back to Hooker, his biography. And I don't remember Thesz talking about having children. And there are basically in the entire book, there are like 3 mentions of his children, only 1 each by name, I think. And a couple of times just, it was in the foreword. Charlie mentioned that writing the foreword to the reprint that Scott Teal did, that he had 3 sons. And then they're mentioned just quickly and done in the book. And obviously, he and Freda split up at some point, and that's one of the reasons apparently why he continued wrestling as long as he did, because it cost him some money. You would have thought somebody, Cauliflower Alley Club, some fan fest, there would have been an interview. None of Lou Thesz's, and apparently he had 3 sons, but none of them have ever been public figures or acknowledged or heard from in any way. And I was to the point where I had to go back and read the book again to make sure that I knew that he had them.
He made sure to give his son a name that he couldn't get involved in wrestling. No one's going to book Jeff Thesz. Here in the main event, Jeff Thesz.
It was Jeff, and the other one was Bob, and there was another son. But anyway, I wonder if they're even still alive, or that Thesz may have grandchildren around. And with all the other family members and descendants that you hear from of famous great wrestlers like that, it's odd. I thought I'd bring that up. And Charlie is a very nice woman.
Is that a Southern thing? I just don't know women named Charlie.
No, it's unusual, but well, see, I don't.
I'm just assuming because I don't know. I've never
I
met a
don't know
woman
what
named
her
Charlie.
birth certificate says. It might be Charlene or Charlize or
Oh, that's
something
true.
like that. But she was just always known as Charlie, and very, very nice, very sweet woman. Quite a bit younger than Lou. You would have had to have been to kept up with him, right? Anyway, so if anybody knows anything about the descendants of Lou Thesz, do they even know how much he's still talked about to this day? One wonders.
And did they inherit anything?
Well, now you're going for artifacts and memorabilia?
Frank the Collector.
Who's got the Thesz belt right now? Does Charlie still have it, or was it given to someone?
I want to say Triple H bought it, but I could be wrong. If it isn't Triple H, I want to say it was bought. It was either Triple H or it was Japan. I would almost be willing to put money that it's not in the Thesz family anymore. And I think Triple H may have it, or WWE. Triple H's office in WWE, who knows how much longer he'll be holding on to that office. But the last time I saw
Holy
some belts,
mackerel, you think, are they going to start charging him rent next month on that corner office, you think?
they're moving into a new office place. Is he coming with them?
No, Trip, you stay over here just to make sure the late mail comes in, gets to the right place. We'll let you know when we got a place ready for you at the new spot. Anyway, real quickly, a little more history. St. Louis, I've also discovered during the mid-50s, apparently after the network TV ran its course, and St. Louis, as we've mentioned, didn't have had TV from 53 through 55 and then was off television as a local product until Wrestling at the Chase in 59. So they appeared to go through a slump at the gate. The houses weren't being reported. If you did see one, what you would think would be a big match that would sell out a few years before only did 8,000 people. But then there was somewhat of a resurgence, especially they had a nice little streak in 1963. I just wanted to give a couple of these statistics. In February, and by the way, remember now, they're doing every 2 weeks. This is not, I'm not going to give you all of them. But the high points, February 15th of 1963, Thesz versus Pat O'Connor and Dick the Bruiser versus John Paul Henning, famous babyface of the era. You remember that name. Drew 11,198 people. They came back 2 weeks later without the no Thesz O'Connor rematch. Instead, Bruiser and John Paul Henning in the main event with Bronco Nagurski as referee, and sold out 12,695, and the report was thousands were turned away. Then they come back 2 weeks later with Thesz against Bruiser for the NWA title and did 12,727 sell out in advance. So there were apparently none turned away because they had already been told not to come. In April, Thesz and Bruiser, another match, did almost 11,000. June 15th, Thesz and Bill Miller and Bruiser and Von Erich did 11,293. February 7th, 1964, Bruiser and Thesz again, 12,110. You can see why Dick the Bruiser became real good friends with Sam Muchnick. On May 16th, 1964, Thesz faced Fritz Von Erich, and on the card was the first father-son team ever in St. Louis, Dory Funk Sr. and Jr., and they sold out 12,191. They went to the arena October 2nd, 1964, Thesz versus Fritz Von Erich. It was the first time they'd gone to the arena, the big building, in over 5 years, and did almost 15,000 people. January 1st of 1965, Kaniski in a handicap match against Fritz Von Erich and Pat O'Connor. And let's remember, the St. Louis handicap matches were not 2 against 1. It was you got to beat the one guy and then you got to beat the second guy in one-on-one matches. They did 12,149 people with 3,000 turned away. And then came back February 5th of 65. Thesz and O'Connor went an hour Broadway in front of over 12,000. April 9th, 65, Thesz and Bruiser at the arena did over 13,000. So the early 60s through the mid-60s, St. Louis was doing incredible business. And when you just take into account those shows, much less all the other ones that were doing 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people, that's a 300,000 ticket a year town for some of those years.
To look at Sam's business, how many other outside attractions outside of wrestling was he bringing in to St. Louis? I know he did the Globetrotters, right?
Yes, he did. And this is like Jim Crockett Sr. They were promoters in town, and they had offices, and they were sports promoters specifically, but they would branch off and do other things. And I think Muchnick did the Globetrotters, and I'm trying to remember, did he dabble at one point with boxing early on? Possibly. Crockett did the Globetrotters. Crockett also did country music shows and dances. And actually, when I got that stuff from the Crockett office, there were some flyers down in the bottom of one of the boxes from Cab Calloway shows in Charlotte from the late 40s.
Oh, wow.
And they also, of course, obviously Crockett branched off into the minor league baseball team there as well as the Charlotte Orioles. So, they took advantage of, what the infrastructure they had to promote other types of events. And they were noted, and it just spread their notoriety around, town as being involved in major events that you wanted to go see. Anyway, and we still haven't solved the mystery of the Thesz offspring. We'll get that at a later date.